Good Monday afternoon, and thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. This afternoon, convicted assassin Vance Belter appearing in state court to face his state charges. It comes 2 weeks after he was given 2 life sentences for murdering Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark and attempting to kill Senator John Hoffman and his family. For the state trial, Belter will face new charges for attempting to murder Representative Kristen Bonner. Police say he targeted her home as well, but she was away on vacation. Belter's also facing charges for impersonating a police officer and animal cruelty for shooting the Hortman's dog Gilbert. In just days, more than 100 people experiencing homelessness at Pig's Eye Park will be forced to find a new place to live. St. Paul leaders are planning to clear the city's largest homeless encampment, citing health and safety concerns. But for many people living at the park, what comes next remains uncertain. Jessica Hart has more.
This village of tents is a place some call home, a place that will no longer exist come August 5th.
I cried.
Katrina McCarran,
Because I feel like more people are going to die.
Founded the Tommy Project, an organization dedicated to giving people harm reduction supplies to keep them alive one more day.
Because nobody should have to die from being in a hard spot.
Katrina and her team drive more than an hour to help people at Pig's Eye Park. Now they're preparing to help those same people leave.
Doing what we can, giving more naloxone to people, trying to stock them up, bring in food items.
We are going to be out there as needed until it officially closes.
Sarah Paterka with Union Gospel Mission Twin Cities says they're preparing to take more people in, but they have limited space.
We have a total of 208 beds here in emergency, but we only have about between 20 and 25 open beds at a time. If we do have an influx over about 20 to 25, we would then work on putting some cots in the chapel. We used to do overflow there for many, many years.
Both Sarah and Katrina aren't sure what the need will be on August 5th.
So we will be having a couple vans out there with our chaplains who are doing the outreach, and then possibly some frontline staff to help. And we'll continue just to invite folks. And if there are guys who need to come into shelter, we will talk with them, we will load their stuff up in the van, and we'll bring them here and have a safe place to sleep that night.
No matter the needs, they say they'll be there, ready to help.
Sarah says she suspects they'll have some people come back to their shelter on Wednesday. It is a men's-only shelter. Katrina says since the announcement of the camp's closure, they've gotten 3 people into sober living and know of 5 others who have gotten apartments. Right now, 2 teens in Minneapolis are behind bars in connection to a weekend crime spree. Officers say they responded to reports of a stolen vehicle driving recklessly in Uptown. The people in the car were also allegedly trying to break into vehicles and attempting an armed carjacking. Police chased the car for several miles before the suspects ran. Officers later arrested 2 16-year-old boys near Powderhorn Park. It's not clear if police are looking for any other suspects. This afternoon, 2 people, including a state trooper, are in the hospital after a serious crash in Forest Lake. Take a look at this video from the scene. State Patrol tells us it happened just after 6 last night on I-35. The trooper and the driver of another car were then taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Forest Lake police are investigating the crash. New this afternoon, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is officially scrapping Trump's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. The announcement comes after key Republican senators John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina threatened to block Blanche's nomination over the controversial deal. The fund that stemmed from a lawsuit President Trump filed against the IRS would offer taxpayer money to people who claimed they were victims of weaponization by the federal government. And that would include payouts to participants of the January 6, 2021 Capitol riots. In a joint statement, the Senate holdouts said they were, quote, pleased with Blanche's order and said they will now support his nomination in the Senate Judiciary Committee vote tomorrow. Developing now in the war in Iran, President Trump is announcing new negotiations with Iran a day after he called off a massive attack on the country. Meanwhile, Iranian officials say they don't have any talks with the U.S. planned, but they are talking to Oman about a temporary safe route through the Strait of Hormuz. NBC's Keir Simmons has the latest from Qatar.
Hey there, good day to you. It's confusion, honestly, at this stage. It's clear that over the weekend there was a real risk. We were really very likely hours away from a massive escalation that would have rocked this region. President Trump stepping back from the brink, calling a ceasefire because he said he got calls from leaders in this region, including the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, asking him to stop and saying that there were negotiations that were making progress. Now, though, stunningly, this morning, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman is saying that it is not currently in negotiations or holding negotiations with the United States, appearing to contradict what President Trump said just last night and over the weekend. Now, President Trump does say that he is at any moment prepared to launch those strikes if needed. There do appear to be negotiations between Iran and another country in this region, Oman, over the Strait of Hormuz. Whether that means, though, that Hormuz would be fully opened, the Iranians are insisting that they are not prepared to relinquish control, supervision over the strait. So inevitably, despite the fact that gas prices early this morning, that oil prices dropped substantially, there is still, of course, pressure on the world economy, on inflation, and on the economy there back home in the United States. Keir Simmons, NBC News, Doha.
Right now, police are working to determine a motive in the deadly mass shooting outside of an In-N-Out restaurant in Idaho. The shooting happened Saturday in Twin Falls. Twin Falls police identified the suspect yesterday as 24-year-old Chad Williams, who they say died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Of the 7 injured victims, 2 remain in critical condition and 2 have been treated and released. Police yesterday credited an off-duty Idaho state trooper and an armed citizen for saving potentially more people.
We want to take a moment and commend the actions of the off-duty officer and the citizen in their heroic action to stop this incident. We believe their actions helped drive the suspect away from the scene, preventing further casualties.
While authorities have not identified any of the victims, the president of In-N-Out confirmed that one of her employees was killed. In a statement on social media, she said the company would stand with the victims' families and support the employees who witnessed the violence. New this afternoon, authorities are reporting the first deaths in the cyclosporiasis outbreak. Officials confirming today that 2 people died in Michigan after catching the microscopic parasite. Authorities note that both people did have underlying health conditions but did not provide additional information about their deaths. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services says deaths from the parasite are very rare, and the infection is usually not considered a life-threatening illness. So far, the CDC has confirmed nearly 4,200 reports of cyclosporiasis, and they're investigating more than 74,000 possible cases across 41 states. Right now, tens of thousands of people in Spokane, Washington are being told to leave as wildfires tear through the area. This is video of the Miter Rock fire scorching a Spokane Indian reservation. Right now, crews are battling 3 major fires in Spokane County. Firefighters are getting support from crews all over the country and even Australia. More than 600 structures have been destroyed, and residents say the devastation has been monumental.
I don't think I'm going to rebuild here because I don't ever want to have to relive a fire coming up this hill again. And I've been in Spokane my entire 64 years because my little brother died in an accident when he was 6. And that's why I stayed close to my family. I think it's time for me to leave Spokane.
Officials say good weather conditions today could help fight those fires, but temperatures are forecasted to climb back into the 90s later this week. Back here at home, crews are battling a new fire in the Superior National Forest. Officials say the small fire was sparked by lightning. Meanwhile, officials say they're opening more entry points in the Boundary Waters tomorrow. It's part of Phase 4 of their reopening plan. Most of the eastern BWCA will be open, and parts of Central will be open for day use only. The western Boundary Waters in the area around the Little Knife Fire, those will stay closed for now. How many apps does it take to be a Minnesota sports fan? Well, that's the big question right now. The Timberwolves are the latest team to add another streaming service to a lineup that's already confusing and expensive. Kent looks at how simply finding the games is becoming a sport of its own.
Watching your favorite Minnesota team at home ain't what it used to be.
A couple years ago, you could watch the Twins, the Wild, the Wolves, and a lot of Lynx games all in one place.
These days, Star Tribune columnist Michael Rand has had to dedicate entire stories and podcasts to help fans fight the confusion and find their teams following the collapse of FanDuel Sports and other regional sports networks due to cord cutting. And he's got bad news.
I don't think this is going to get less complex in, the coming years.
In the past 10 days alone, the Minnesota Timberwolves announced a one-year deal to broadcast games on DAZN streaming service next season, while the Minnesota Wild announced that it will create its own multimedia platform to offer broadcasts on both streaming and cable next season. And while neither have announced pricing yet, the Twins have done something similar through Twins.tv, which is about $20 per month.
I'd find it pretty hard to swallow if Wolves and Wild were both priced at $20 when you used to get both for $20 total.
While cost is a major concern, Rand says it's not the only one.
With the Wolves, they're essentially going to like this streaming-only platform. This will feel like the biggest challenge to me of all of them, like getting people signed up for this, getting them on board with this, and getting them to find this and add this thing.
Even the Minnesota Lynx, which went to Victory Plus this season, a totally free streaming service, finding it has tested some diehard fans.
I set up his TV so he can watch the Lynx games.
Vanessa Pettit, who befriended hospice patient Gordy Amundsen and went viral this week after taking him to his first game, says he spent part of the season
I'm starting to be aware of it.
struggling to follow the team at all.
Because he kept going down trying to get the Lynx games, and they were saying you got to have the Victory Plus app.
I think people want simplicity or at least some consistency, and I feel like everything's kind of all over the map right now.
So much so that Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin recently introduced a bill in Congress to stop sports blackouts and slash pricey streaming costs. But Rand isn't holding his breath.
I don't know. It feels very thorny. They can try to do that. I feel like maybe you're winning some political points by saying that. I don't really know. It does make me wonder, like, where it's all headed, kind of what the end game is for this.
Stick with us. More news and weather's coming up after the break.